Good evening. Hope everyone is feeling very wonderful on this Thursday evening. We're doing a show that was supposed to take place on Tuesday, but we were out of town, so we're back in town and we decided to jump right on this now. As was previously announced, my name is Odie Hawkins, and Zola Salena-Hawkins is over there behind the camera. As you all know, those who've been following this thing we're doing, I'm reading from published works, that last year was books. I was reading excerpt from, I was reading a number of my published works. I have 36 books on the bookshelves. This year we decided to turn around, 2023, we decided to turn around and do shorter things. So that's what I'm about now. And without further ado, here we go. Let me explain the background for this one. For those who've been wondering, even casually, what are the people doing who are being forced to live in tents and shacks and whatever cover they can find up and down the streets of LA? I decided to take a personal look, and this is what I came up with. I'm calling this the St. Julian honeymoon tent, and you'll get the sense of what it really is about after a few pages. The first character speaking is a man named L.S. Rufus. Some people say his name stands for Likka Sto Rufus. I guess the polite thing to do before I start running my mouth off is to introduce myself. My government name is Louis S. Jordan. The S don't stand for nothing. I just put it in there because I thought it looked good. But my friends call me Likka Sto Rufus. The liquor store part I can understand, but I don't know who tacked that Rufus part on there. Oh well, that's life on San Julian. Lots of stuff happens on San Julian. For example, this is where Sylvester and Marlena Greene started their honeymoon tent thing. Now just let me say this, Sylvester and Marlena was good people, no doubt about that. But they had been down on their luck, and I guess you could say in desperate straits for a while. I'd be willing to bet you if you did a survey or a poll or something like that, you might find about half of the people living down here on San Julian, on Skid Row, are just folks down on their luck. I would include myself in that regard. But just let me say this in regards to Sylvester and Marlena Greene. They may have been in desperate straits for a while, but they hadn't been stripped of lots of ideas and creativity. Not by a long shot. Sylvester, I have an idea that could make us some money. Sylvester stopped sipping his thrice brewed tea heated on the one burner hot plate and gave Marlena his complete attention. When Marlena said, make us some money, it meant, listen close. What you got in mind, baby? He loved to see her eyes brighten up and the way her hands started doing little cat cradles as she talked about an idea. Okay, here we are in this tent. One of the biggest and nicest on the block. You agree with that? You got that right, sweet thing? Mm-hmm. He made an elaborate sweeping gesture with his right hand as though to salute their surroundings. Their daily clothes hung up neatly on a crossbar. Their neatly folded store clothes on a makeshift shelf in the east corner. A few glasses, cups, and saucers placed on a ground level table. The one burner hot plate and the old-fashioned metal bread box where they store their perishables and to keep rats away. So what's in your mind? He smiled as he asked the question. Marlena's ideas could be a little bit abstract at times. He had learned to be cautious about where her ideas were likely to take them. Okay, so here's my idea. I've been thinking real hard on this for a while. I know you have, sweet thing. I know you have. Marlena double-checked her husband's expression in dimming afternoon light to make sure he wasn't just humoring her. He looked sincere. My idea is that we rent our tent out for an hour at a time to some deserving couple who can pay the price. Sylvester almost choked on the tea he was sipping. Huh? Marlena, baby, did I hear you right? You want to rent our tent, our home, out by the hour? Is that what you said? That's exactly correct. That's what I just said. Now let me explain this to you. Sylvester sprawled back on his futon sleeping bag and stared at his wife's eloquently moving lips. The woman was endlessly fascinating, her mind percolating like a pot of strong brewing coffee. He had no doubt that they would get out of the fix they were in, largely because of her strength, determination, and imagination. They hadn't willed themselves to be on Skid Row. It just happened after a series of catastrophes had gone down. Both of them losing their good-paying jobs at the same time. His hip replacement, her fight with breast cancer, the bills that swamped them, the fight that they lost to keep the house, one damaged thing after another. Sylvester, are you listening to me? He took a sip of his cold tea and nodded enthusiastically. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, I am. Good. Okay. Ain't no sense trying to deny it. Just because people are living on what they call Skid Row does not mean that they do not want to make love. You agree with that? Sylvester licked his lips, squinched his eyes into lascivious slits, and did a salacious stare at Marlena's full breast and her shapely hip line. She leaned over and gave him a painful slap on his forehead. I ain't talking about us, Mr. Sex Machine. I'm talking about some of our neighbors. Now, I know for a fact that men don't really care where they get enough. Women are different. Women don't want to be doing it on a piece of cardboard in the middle of the night out on the streets. Women want something soft under themselves, maybe some candlelight and a little music. You know what I'm saying? Sylvester nodded in agreement. I hear you, sweet thing. I hear you loud and clear. So look around. Look at what we got and what they don't have. Sylvester glanced around at the interior of their neatly laid out tent home. The centerpiece was this incredible mattress that a couple of their drug-addicted neighbors had sold them a couple of months ago. One of those world-class numbers that was firm and guaranteed to stay firm no matter what for at least 100 years, or until it collapsed. No telling where the dope fiends stole it. So, he framed his question in an oblique fashion. So, she responded, I'm suggesting that we rent our tent, rent this magic mattress out for 2-3 hours, 5 nights a week, except for the weekends. Why not the weekend? Because the weekend will be reserved for us, the owners of the love tent, to count our money and do whatever. Back to Rufus. Word gets around pretty quick on Skid Row. It took Marlene's idea exactly 1 whole week to sink into action. The honeymoon tent was on. Sylvester eased in with a few suggestions. Marlena, baby cakes, I don't think we should charge everybody the same price for an hour in paradise. Why don't we charge what the traffic can bear? Marlena Greene, a bona fide capitalistic entrepreneur, had to be convinced that they would lose business, trade, if they tried to charge a set amount for each of their tent mattress homes. Correct. But charge what the traffic can bear? Well, okay, I guess that would be the best thing to do. All right, Sylvester, let's go with the flow. The flow dictated that they would not offer their tent to teenagers. We don't want to be responsible for delinquent stuff. They would not allow prostitution. We'll have to be really alert about this. I don't think we'll have a real problem. I can spot a hole in a John from a mile away. Back to Rufus. It took about 3 months for him to work the kinks out, but I could see, everybody could see that they had a good thing going on. It was kind of amazing the way stuff happened. For example, this particular section became much more quieter. It was like people, nobody wanted to be guilty of disturbing the honeymoon tent. You know what I'm saying? It actually got to the point where some people nicknamed this block the Love Connection.
Oh my.
It was almost unbelievable. Marlena was almost on the verge of tears when she told me, Sylvester, we made $162.52 this week. It was really unbelievable what happened next. I was sitting here making out the schedule for the week when this clean-cut, blonde-haired, blue-eyed couple popped through the flap. We were informed that we could rent this tent for a period of time. Is this correct? It was the guy who spoke. He had a kind of German accent. Where you folks from? Oslo, Norway. So you want the honeymoon tent, huh? Yeah, we want it for 2 hours, perhaps 3. I don't know whether, I didn't know whether the shit would go fly. Marlena had gone to the Central Market for some fruit, so I had to stall him for a few minutes till she got back, because I didn't know what to charge him. Luckily, she was back on the scene 10 minutes later, and she was all about the business of the business. Now then, who are your references? Oh, we met this couple in Holland that we had done some photography with here on St. Julien last month, and they spoke of you. We knew what they were talking about. It was a Dutch couple who were taking some great pictures of us, of the people on the street. So, what is your reason for wanting to rent the honeymoon tent? I felt like screaming, "Come on, Marlene! Rent the goddamn tent! Let's get the money, honey!" They want to do this to say that we have made love here on St. Julian Street, and that the baby we have been trying to conceive for so long will happen here. You could have knocked me down with a duck feather. Wow. Marlena blinked back a couple of sentimental tears and said, "That'll be 200 for 2 hours, and God bless you." The Norway guy zipped over his money belt and fished out 4 $50 bills like it was nothing. Like I said, that kind of thing didn't happen every day, but it happened often enough for us to start looking for a room somewhere. Back to Rufus. It was really a trip to watch what happened to Sylvester and Marlena. 3 things happened after a few months in the spring that told you that they were really making some decent coins. Number 1, they just basically left the tent and got a room over at the Keystone Hotel. Number 2, they hired Mr. and Mrs. Spencer, an older couple, you might say, to do the landlord thing, meaning that they booked people in and collected the money first. But they didn't become greedy-ass, snake dog money grabbers. They did things for people on the streets. If you was having it tight, they would loan you a few coins. I owe Sylvester $20 to this very day. Plus, they were known to give scholarships to couples who wanted to do but didn't have the proper coin. You know what I'm saying? Number 3, to put the icing on the cake, they hired Bobo to hang around to be security. You didn't want to mess around with Bobo. Bobo was about 5'10", and almost as wide as he was tall, and had muscles all up behind his head and between his thumbs and forefingers. Always exercising, always doing push-ups and sit-ups and stuff, right next to the tent flap of the honeymoon tent. They came down on like an ice raid or something. I didn't see him but sloppy little Tyler Sally told me. She said she saw it. The way she told it was like a SWAT team raid or a Gestapo raid, the way they did when they were taking Jews away to the concentration camp. The only difference, the way she told it, is that these people were wearing suits. I had to physically restrain Sylvester from beating a couple people to death with his short, thick stick he called his attitude adjuster. Good thing we had given Bobo this particular Monday morning off, or else somebody definitely would have had a hurt put on him. It was unreal. We had decided to give Mrs. and Mrs. Spencer a Monday off too, and had left our room at the Keystone to spend the night in the tent. You know how it is. If you have an investment in something, you have to check on things on a regular basis. That's what we were doing. What was it, about 7 or 7:30 in the morning? And these people, white guys, about 6 or 7 of them, barged into our tent talking fast and crazy. "You people are breaking the law. It is unlawful to establish houses of prostitution within the downtown city limits. You are in violation of City Ordinance BS 1666. Like I said, I had stopped Sylvester from clubbing somebody to death. What the fuck you think you doing? Breaking in here. Fortunately, the lead person started talking really fast. "We're from the Downtown Association of blah, 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 and we demand that you comply with blah, 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 blah." I had an immediate compromise ready to get the fuck out of here and we could talk. Or else where you are and my husband is going to beat you or else stay where you are, and my husband's going to beat the dog shit out of you. They accepted the compromise.
Mm-hmm.
We let them wait outside for half an hour while we discussed the situation. Sylvester, what do you make of this? It's about money, sweet thing. It's all about the almighty buck. Somewhere along the line, somebody has discovered that a couple poor-ass black folks down on Skid Row are making some money. That's what it's all about, money.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't take long to find out that he was right on the money, pun intended.
Mm-hmm.
We met these suits outside our tent for a few minutes before they chickened out and fled the scene. It was obvious they didn't feel too comfortable with Slobber-Lipped Sally, Fancy Dan, the Toothless Man, Hellraiser Gonzalez, Uncle Charlie, and the other regulars on San Julian Street crowding up on him. We didn't have to be told that it was on from that point onward. The next day there was a police sweep on the street. They made a beeline for our tent. We're looking for drugs, contraband. We wouldn't let them get past the threshold without a search warrant. Can you imagine a search warrant?
Mm-hmm.
You can't come in here without a search warrant. They were so mad, so mad. If there hadn't been so many people around, they probably would have shot both of us to death.
Mm-hmm.
2 hours later, they were back with a search warrant. They turned the place inside out. We didn't do drugs and only had a beer or two from time to time. We had better things to do than stay high and or loaded all the time. Like I said, it was on. The cops immediately killed our honeymoon business, so we had to leave the Keystone and move back into the tent. Nobody wanted to run the risk of being arrested, so a lot of our friends just stayed away from us. I really felt bad for Marlena. She had worked so hard to put this thing together, and I was destroyed by some hateful, mean-spirited, dirty, rotten, snake dog money grabbers.
Mm-hmm.
That was what it's about, really. They just couldn't stand the idea of a black couple making money doing something they had never thought about doing. Lo and behold, the next thing we knew, we had some young white kids and some young black kids, really just kids, marching up and down San Julian with signs, protesting for our right to use our tent any way we wanted to. We were flabbergasted. The story hit the newspapers. African-American couple harassed by bureaucracy. That brought the TV cameras down on San Julian, a place they'd never been before. Tell us, Mr. and Mrs. Brown, I'm sorry, Green, Yellow. Tell us, Mr. and Mrs. Green, have you always lived in a tent on San Julian Street?
No.
Is it true that you were using your tent as a house of prostitution?
Oh my.
I felt tempted to pull out my attitude just a few times, but Marlena cooled me out. Be cool, Sylvester, be cool.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of BS went on for about a month. It got to the point where we were going to accept the pro bono offer that a couple cool attorneys had made.
Mm-hmm.
I'll represent you guys. This is nothing but an infringement of your civil rights. I'm appalled.
Ah. Yes.
It just so happened the day we were about to get hooked up with David Ziegels, the lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
We looked out of our tent, and they had these huge bulldozer things moving into position at the end of the street. A big, beefy police sergeant was driving real slow down the street, announcing over a loudspeaker, "You people have exactly 1 hour to remove your belongings. You people are trespassing. You have exactly 1 hour to remove your belongings. I repeat." Marlena cried her eyes out for about 5 minutes before she pulled herself together. I'm not crying about us, I'm crying about the grief we pulled down on our friends. I don't know how the news reached David Ziegels, but he was on the scene within an hour with some kind of stay of execution order. We can't let them do this. What the hell do they think this is? Nazi Germany? Ziegels was outraged, and I was outraged, but Marlena was cool. Look, guys, this is not going to work. Look at what's happening already. You got protesters coming in, you got police riot gear and the SWAT vehicles behind them. I don't want to see anybody killed over some crazy shit like this. Sylvester, pull those stroller bags out with our stuff and help me pull the tent poles down. It was really and truly a mad scene, mad. People who were already homeless were being made homeless again. Some people were just standing in front of their cardboard shacks, too stunned to cry. Some people were rushing around, pulling stuff out on top of anything they could pull or push. And then the bulldozer started moving. The police had cordoned off the street for blocks around. But there were individuals who popped through and flung a bottle or a brick at the bulldozer. They got an immediate ass kicking and were dumped into a police van. They left one opening out of Julian Street, and I clearly remember two things. We looked like refugees dragging our stuff along, and the attorney, David Ziegels, a heart-bitten guy, was shuffling along beside us, crying and mumbling. I don't fucking believe this. Not in America. I don't fucking believe this. Back to Rufus. Yeah. That's what happened. That's where it all happened, right here on San Julian Street about 5 years ago. But now here's the booty buster. Pow. It seemed while Marlena and Sylvester were being scorned and mistreated, this Norway couple that they had once rented the honeymoon tent to got in touch with them. Got in touch with them whilst they was going through all of that madness and invited them to come to Norway. This is the way Slobber Lip Sally, yeah, she's still here. This is the way Slobber Lip Sally told it to me. Seemed that this Norway couple had made a baby in the honeymoon tent.
Oh my.
All right, got that?
Got that.
Can you get ready for that one?
I'm ready.
Had made a crumb crusher, the crumb crusher, that they had been trying to make in the honeymoon tent. And when they checked out the YouTube and stuff and saw what Marlena and Sylvester were going through, they invited them to get out of shithole America and come to Norway to work for them as diversity consultants.
Oh my goodness.
Or some such thing.
They would know.
in Norway.
They would know.
Incidentally, they named the crumb crusher a boy, Hendrik St. Julian Hansen. That's what Slobber Lip told me.
Yeah.
As I understand it, coming from Slobber Lip, they borrowed some coins from this attorney Ziegels and split. I got to get in touch with the dude to handle some of my own legal business. In any case, that was about 5 years ago. Yeah. It was a hell of a scene. A hell of a scene. Bobo told me that he got a letter from him last year from Oslo, Norway. They had bought Oslo.
No, not Oslo. But okay.
Excuse me?
Oslo?
Well, I'm reading Oslo.
Okay, whatever. Go ahead.
They had bought a... Don't get me off the script here.
Not at all.
They had bought a house next door to Astrid, Garth, and the baby, Hendrik St. Julian Hansen, the folks who had pulled them over there. So far as I know, they're still there. All I know about the place is that it's close to Greece. Cold as a witch's left titty. And ain't nobody living on the streets the way we got it here.
Okay.
The St. Julian honeymoon tent, baby.
Yes.
That's where it all happened.
Yes, indeed.
And
oh, that's quite a tale.
I was looking for something that was going to be maybe a little romantic, a little sentimental.
Very romantic, very sentimental.
Don't you get that? All that hardcore, urban, you know, stuff from time to time.
From time to time.
So, there we are.
Very romantic.
We've used Thursday to cover up for Tuesday.
Yes.
And hopefully, Alfred, it'll be it for you. And we'll see you on Monday evening with A Moment in Time.
Right, indeed. So your website is www.odiehawkins.com. O-D-I-E Hawkins. And it's not Odie. It is O-D.
Thank you so much.
All right.
I can't understand why it is that people keep calling me Odie.
I don't know.
Is it because I'm odd or something?
You're a bit odd, but not that odd. Odie. All right. It
It
is.
is this.